Hi guys, Jamus here, and you're back watching Jamus Plays. Today, we're looking at something a bit different. Hydroneer from Foul Ball Hangover, which has recently made its way onto PS5. Now, I've spent several hours with the game so far, pretty much solo. There is multiplayer options available, and honestly, this one surprised me. At first glance, it looks like a simple little mining game, but then suddenly you realise you spent 3 hours building conveyor belts, sorting gems, trying to engineer what is basically an industrial money printing machine in the middle of nowhere. And somehow it's also incredibly relaxing. So yes, the game has depth, no pun intended. Well, maybe a bit intended. If you haven't seen it before, Hydroneer is basically a sandbox mining and automation game where you dig for resources, process materials, craft equipment, and slowly build up your own mining operation. You start small, and I mean really small. At the start, you're basically standing in the dirt with a shovel and a dream. You're manually digging for dirt, manually carrying buckets, manually panning for gold. And honestly, your character must have the lower back strength of a superhero. But that slow start is important because it makes the progression feel really rewarding. One of the biggest things I love about this game is just how chilled out it is. There's no massive pressure, no enemies constantly attacking you, no survival meter screaming at you every 5 seconds. It's just you, your little mining plot, and the constant pursuit of becoming absurdly rich through industrial excavation. There's something weirdly satisfying about zoning out while digging trenches and slowly improving your setup piece by piece. This is absolutely the kind of game where you sit down thinking, I'll play for half an hour, and then suddenly it's 1 AM and you're researching conveyancer efficiency. The physics system is honestly one of the highlights for me. Everything has the slightly chaotic, tactile feel to it. Resources bounce around, machines clunk into place, objects tumble everywhere if you're not careful. Sometimes it feels like controlled chaos, and other times it feels like your mining company is one loose wheel away from complete disaster. And honestly, that's part of the charm. When your machinery is all working together properly, it's incredibly satisfying to watch. Now, like most games these days, Hydroneer isn't perfect. The biggest frustration for me on PS5 has been item placement and dropping the items. You'll see in the video I drop items in the wrong place constantly. For some reason, when you drop something, it doesn't really go directly where your cursor is pointing. It doesn't go in the center of the HUD. Instead, it tends to drop slightly off to the right. But that's sort of the charm of the game, if I'm honest, because you get used to this right-handedness throughout the game. It does sound minor, but when you're trying to place machinery accurately or organise your setup, it can get surprisingly annoying. There were definitely moments where I was fighting the controls more than the mining operation itself. Hopefully that's something that can get refined in future updates because the core gameplay is genuinely really good. But the moment the game really clicked for me was when I started seeing automation come together. Once you've got conveyors running, machines processing resources, gems sorting automatically, it suddenly transforms from cozy digging simulator into the brilliant little engineering sandbox. Watching your fully automated money setup running properly for the first time is ridiculously satisfying. You genuinely sit there thinking, I built this. I did. Even if half the conveyor belts look like they were designed by a sleep-deprived goblin. On the PS5, the game actually feels really, really good overall. The controls take a little getting used to, especially that placement mechanic, but once you settle into it, it works nicely as a console experience. And honestly, I'm glad games like this are coming to consoles more often now. Not every game needs to be ultra-competitive sweatfest. Sometimes you just need to dig a massive hole in the ground and become financially successful because of dirt. And this is where I think Hydroneer really shines. It's budget friendly and there's way more depth than I expected. Again, no pun intended. There's a surprising amount to learn, optimize and experiment with. Even after several hours, I still feel like I'm only scratching the surface of what's possible with automation and building setups. I haven't tried the DLC yet, so I can only talk about the base experience for now. But honestly, if the extra content builds on what's already here, I can definitely see myself checking it out later. So overall, Hydroneer gets a thumbs up from me. It's cozy, surprisingly addictive, full of satisfying progression, and genuinely relaxing to play. Yeah, it's got some rough edges. The item placement can absolutely be frustrating at times, but underneath that, it is a really enjoyable mining experience with loads of charm and loads of depth. If you enjoy automation games, cozy sims, sandbox builders, or just games where you slowly create ridiculous systems for profit, I think this is well worth a look. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Let me know in the comments if you've played Hydroneer already and if your mining setup is organised or complete chaos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.